Sometimes love isn't enough. As an adoptive mom, people would often say this to me, as if to imply I couldn't love my son enough to change behaviors or heal his trauma, so I should probably just give up. At least that's how I took those four powerful words, which had buried themselves deeply in my mind, leading me to doubt my ability to parent my child. Sometimes love isn't enough. That is the truth. Oftentimes, you need love and powerful, personalized tools to raise a child who's experienced trauma and disrupted attachment, or a child who you're struggling to connect with. I am on a mission to help parents raising kids with a tricky past to show up with unconditional love and practical tools to lovingly manage even the most challenging of times. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Plus, if you like what you hear, I'd love for you to leave a review. Now let's get to the good stuff. Welcome back to Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. I am your host, Angie Grandt, the parent coach who is on a mission to break cycles of trauma and to help us parent better. So for this episode, I actually want to start out with a quote from Yoda. The quote goes, "Do or do not. There is no trying." What did Yoda mean by that? And how does this apply to our parenting relationship? Well, the idea is that when we think about the concept of trying, we try so hard to be a better parent. We try so hard to improve our relationship. We try so hard to do these things in our life. But the things that we seek to change are within our abilities. We can't change other people, but when we're trying to change something within ourselves, within our circumstances, within our thoughts, our feelings, that's totally on us. And what Yoda, I believe, was trying to say is that we can say that we're trying, but what does that actually mean? Does trying mean that we've put in all of the effort that we possibly could, or that we're taking the right approach, or that the effort that we're making is even aligned with our actual outcome? When I first heard this quote, I actually heard it through somebody else who was quoting Yoda. And I just thought it was so interesting, right? When I heard it, it was as I was listening to the Gene Keys with Richard Rudd, which is related to human design. Each of the Gene Keys they're part of an archetype, a story about the human experience. And this particular one, it was number 34. It talks about how force isn't the way to get things done. When we think about force, the idea, he gives an example about trying to force a square peg into a round hole. When you think about the actual act of doing that, right? So take this idea of trying. There is no trying. You do it or you don't, but there is no trying, because this concept of a square peg in a round hole. Let's take it simple like that, right? You can say that you're trying to fit that square peg into that round hole. You can use all of your force. You can use every muscle in your body to make that happen. You might twist it or turn it, try a different angle. You could try all of these things, but at the end of it, either you did it or you did not, right? Either you accomplished what you were seeking to accomplish or you did nothing. You expended unnecessary effort to reach a goal that doing it the way you were doing it was impossible. What if instead you took that square peg and you took it to a mill or to some place where they could grind it down for you, and you made that square peg round? Well, then it would fit into the round hole and you would have done the thing that you were seeking to do. The same concept, and I'm not suggesting you, change your child. What I am suggesting you do, however, is to change your approach if what you're doing isn't working. I say this with all of the love and compassion because I was there too. If anybody in my life had asked me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, how things were going, I would tell people I'm trying so hard to change our relationship. I'm trying so hard to alleviate my son's suffering, his behaviors. I was trying so hard, but I wasn't doing. I was taking a lot of action. I was expending a lot of energy. I was um, talking a lot, asking a lot, learning a lot, doing a lot, but I wasn't actually doing. I was just trying, and trying isn't doing, right? Instead of actually creating the change that I thought that I wanted, I was expending all of my energy into efforts that were fruitless, quite frankly. So why do I share this with you as a parent who's struggling with behaviors or a caregiver who's struggling to support a parent with behaviors? Why do I share this with you? Well, when I think about the approaches that we are presented with, that we find online, that are shared with us, of course, try what feels aligned to you and feels like it is the best approach for your family, your situation, your child. Do what feels aligned to you. But if you've tried so many things and you feel like things can't change, perhaps it's the approach. This idea of forcing an outcome with our child, right? That when I look back, the amount of energy that I expended trying to change things, I was trying so hard to force a change in behaviors. And I don't mean that I was physically forcing him by any means, but what I do mean is that I was trying to force my agenda on this change. But the action I was taking wasn't aligned with me, who I am. It wasn't aligned with what my son needed at all. I was trying to fix behaviors, and we've talked so much about this here in this podcast about trying to create change in something that we have no impact over, trying to create change in something where we're missing that clear foundation. So, what if there's a different, better way to approach things? Well, I think that that's what we've been addressing here in this podcast, right? We've been talking about ways to meet your child's unique needs in a way that isn't cookie cutter because your child isn't. He or she does not come from a cookie cutter, right? What I'm talking about here is taking action that's aligned with you, aligned with what you know about trauma, aligned with what you know and are learning about attachment and connection and regulation. It's aligned with your unique energy needs and your child's unique energy needs. That's what I want to talk about here. That's what the whole goal of this podcast is, to help you to stop trying so hard, stop trying and start doing. I often, when I start working with new clients, one of the things that I will read to them is this beautiful excerpt from a book that I love. It's called U Squared by Price Pritchett. And Pritchett, I'm probably saying that wrong, but I'll put the information in the show notes. But at the beginning of the book, there's this beautiful story about sitting in a cafe and watching a fly try to get out of the cafe by continuously running into the window, running into the window, running into the window. This fly is trying, but it's not doing. It's not doing anything other than expending its energy, probably giving itself a concussion, and it can't ever achieve its goal of getting out the cafe using the effort that it's using. But if instead that fly took a step back or a zoom back, however you want to look at that, and looked over to the right, just 3 feet away is an open door. I'm not saying here today that I need you to try harder, to do more, to expend more energy, to put in more effort. What I am saying is that perhaps taking a step back, reflecting on the action that you are taking, all of this trying that you are doing, and considering a different approach because your kid needs you to. Your own self needs you to. If you're expending all of your energy trying to change behaviors, but you're not taking aligned action, you're going to keep banging your head against the wall. So that's my takeaway for you today is really not so much of a practical that tends to be what I leave you with, something practical you can go do, but what I really want to encourage you to do today is to take a step back and reflect on what you are doing. How is that going? How is it working for you? Because if you're trying so hard and nothing's changing, then perhaps you're not doing what you hope to be doing at all. I hope that you found this episode so incredibly powerful. Thank you for joining us for Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. If you resonated with what you heard here, please subscribe to this podcast and give us a review. You can also follow us on all the socials. Check the show notes for all the details about how to start tackling behaviors and creating a powerful, loving relationship with your child, a child who needs your love the most. And if your gut's telling you that it's time for a change now, book a free consult. I'd love to help you love unconditionally and show you that you have that power within you.